Kade Anderson, complete game shutout. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you so much for that. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from. Need one now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. Stock up today and stay energized. Where I come from, we call that a CG shut piece. Complete game shutout for Kade Anderson. Tigers take game one, 2-0 for Kade Anderson. 9 innings, no runs on 5 hits. He struck out a career best 14, walked just 2, didn't hit a batter, and threw 135 pitches. Can I get an amen from the congregation? Yes, Kade Anderson went 135 pitches, and yes, he was still dotting 92 on pitch 135. Ain't no way he should have come out of that game, and I'm going to tell you what, in the 8th inning, when he went back out there, it was pretty clear because you had Zach Cowan getting loose for 2 innings. As soon as Kade Anderson allowed a base runner, he was coming out of the game. You had Zach Cowan ready. As soon as anybody got on base, Kade Anderson was coming out of the game. What did he do? What did he do in the bottom of the 8th? What did he do in the bottom of the 7th? A 1-2-3 inning. And he got strikeout number 13 to finish the 7th. He goes back out there for the 8th. What does he do? Weak ground out back to the mound where he made a beautiful throw to first base, gets another ground out, then a strikeout of the one guy he hadn't retired yet on the day. And then he goes out there in the 9th. 1, 2, 3. Good night. Kade Anderson got the final 9 outs when anybody was getting on base, he was coming out of the game and he said, "You ain't taking me out of this game. Here's 9 outs. Up your donkey." Incredible performance by Kade Anderson. It's funny because at the end of the broadcast, Dave Neal and Todd Walker were talking about the last complete game shutout by an LSU pitcher. And that, of course, was Paul Skeens in the regional against Tulane in 2023. Now, that was a very, very debated decision by Jay Johnson to throw Paul Skeens against a 19-win Tulane team. I compared it to using a bazooka to kill a bunny. It was completely unnecessary. This tonight from Kade Anderson against a top 10 Oklahoma team on the road when it's 50 degrees outside. Yeah. And the first time you've ever played in that venue against that team in the SEC and having to go on a turf field, a turf mound in someone else's stadium, and you shove a complete game shutout right down their throat with 14 strikeouts was amazing. Listen, we're going to talk about a lot about this game, and I'm thrilled to have you aboard with us. So thank you for being here. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff. I'm going to get to your comments. I promise we're going to break down this game, and it went quickly, man. I mean, you're talking about a 2.5-hour baseball game. That's what happened. And you had 2 incredible pitchers on the mound, 2 guys that are going to be first-round picks. So we're going to talk about how this game unfolded, how LSU ultimately got through against Witherspoon, but the day belonged to Kade Anderson. And one of the things about Oklahoma, that Oklahoma team offensively is not great. Okay, they hit 296 cumulatively as a team. They're not really going to beat you with the long ball, and especially on a day like that when the wind was blowing in and it's 50 degrees, right? I mean, you saw it. Nothing was getting out of the park, although it was a foul ball that came close. We're going to get to that here in just a second, though. I would have tied the game at 2 in the bottom of the 6th. But anyway, we'll get to that in a second. But the point is, Jay Johnson even talked about it. He talked about it on Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob on Thursday morning. If you missed it on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. the key to Oklahoma's offense, because they are as active on the base paths as anyone you'll see. They make Kentucky from last year look mild with that approach. They are get them on, get them over, get them in. They steal, they hit and run, they're active on the bases, they test you. Well, the key is you got to get the first out, because if you allow the first guy on base, then they can put all their offensive wheels in motion. When you keep retiring the first batter, they don't have the opportunity to get someone on base and start running their offense. In the first inning, strikeout to start the game from Kade Anderson. Second inning, strikeout. Third inning, ground out. When he was down 3-0, Kade Anderson was down 3-0, came back and got a ground out. Fourth inning, led off with a strikeout. Fifth inning, 1-2-3 frame. Sixth inning, led off with a double, but he came back to go strikeout, strikeout, strikeout after the double. That was a key point of the game. We'll come back to that. And then as we chronicled, 7th, 8th, 9th, 9 up, 9 down there. So he retired the last 12 in a row. And as a matter of fact, the last person to get on base against Kade Anderson would have been the single. No, it was the double to lead off the sixth. The double to lead off the sixth was the last runner to get on base against Kade Anderson. And you put the handcuffs on that team to not allow them to do the thing that they want to do offensively. It's like if you are if you're going in football, if you're going up against a team that's a spread offense team and they want to sit there, LSU, the Citrus Bowl with LSU against Lamar Jackson. You go sack Lamar Jackson 7 times or whatever it was in that ball game, he can't get going. You suffocate him. You don't allow him to run his offense. That's what LSU did. Oklahoma executes their offense very well, what they try to do. But Kade Anderson suffocated them. The defense behind him was flawless as well. He contributed. Look, the Tapper off the mound in the 7th, where he went off the mound, went to, and he kind of flipped the ball to himself and threw a fastball over to first base to get the runner by a half step. Incredible. You had great defense behind him all day. No errors for the Tigers in this game. So a clean day for LSU in a really, really incredibly well-played game tonight. LSU, 2 runs on 6 hits, did not commit an error. They did leave 4 on base. Oklahoma, no runs on 5 hits. They left 6 on base. And Kade Anderson, just the 2 walks, 5 hits, 2 walks. There was the line out double play, so that accounts for the other out from the base runner. But an amazing, amazing performance. And most importantly now, aside from the fact that you got this win, which is incredible, right? But let me real quick, there are 807 of you watching. God bless. I love every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. I say it every time we do one of these post games, and I'm going to say it again for those who maybe are catching us for the first time. There's not another place in college baseball where on a Thursday night I could fire up a live stream and there's 828 people watching live. So thank you all so much for being here. Most importantly, my son's in here, so I apologize for that, but I don't really care. Most importantly, when you look at what happened tonight with Kade Anderson giving you 135 pitches, is the fact that you did not have to use anybody else. So you've got 2 games to go now, needing to really just split them, right? You go win 1 and you split the next 2, you win the weekend, and you've got Ianson and Shores and Cowan. If on Friday night Ianson gives you 5 and you can give it to Cowan with a lead with Evans behind him, boom, boom, you win the series. Then you go into Sunday with house money and let the chips fall where they may. That's why it's so massive. You all know this, but I'm just explaining it. That's why it's so massive for Kade Anderson to do what he did tonight, to go 135 pitches. And when the hook was there, when Jay Johnson's on the top step, basically saying anybody gets on base, you're out of the game, and he retires the final 12 hitters he faced. Absolutely amazing. My hat's off to Kade Anderson. An incredible, incredible performance. One we'll talk about for a long time. It's so interesting, too, because the greatest game I've ever seen played at the new box was the 2013 Super Regional LSU Oklahoma, Aaron Nola against John Gray. That might be the best college baseball game I'd ever seen until the LSU Wake Forest Skeens Louder game that went into extras, the Tommy White walk-off to send LSU to the championship series. I mean, with ultimate respect, obviously, the Warren Morris game in 1996, but which will always be at a different standard altogether. But when you talk about the pitching performance and the drama of the game and all that stuff, incredible. Tonight was amazing. The stakes aren't what they were in the postseason games that we just alluded to, but in a regular season game, absolutely amazing to see. So congrats to LSU. Tigers win. They move to 8-2 in conference play. This is the best start for an LSU baseball team since 2013, that dominant team, which, of course, hit its bumps in Omaha, but got there, and they were dominant. And there's so much about this game that you have to love that was revealing. And I want to get into all of that as we continue. So thank you for being here with us. If you're new, a quick reminder how this goes. I'll give you my take on the game. I'll grab a break, and then we'll get to your comments. So let me knock out this break. We'll come back. I'll run through the game flow, and we'll get to your questions. So thank you for being with us here, Locked on LSU, your team every day. Life moves fast, especially when you have a family. One day you're watching your kids take their first steps. Before you know it, they're off to college. That's why securing their future is so important. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to get term life insurance that fits your family's needs. With Fabric, you can apply for term life insurance right from your couch. You could be covered in under 10 minutes. And in many cases, no health exam is required. And you can get affordable coverage. How about $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day? So protecting your loved ones doesn't have to break the bank. Join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their families. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. That's meetfabric.com/lockedoncollege. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Assurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting and health questions. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Baseball season is in full swing, and there is no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first-inning runs. PrizePicks keeps every game exciting, and there's exclusive promos. Take advantage of Taco Tuesday, for example, where PrizePicks offers discounts on select player projections for even more value. So download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, let's run through this game, and then I promise I'm going to get to you. Thank you for being with us. Hey, listen, if you're listening or watching on demand, much respect and thanks for being there. Please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. If you're on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. If you're with us live, keep your comments coming because I'm getting to those in just a bit. It looked like from jump, the game we were all anticipating that it was going to be with Anderson and Witherspoon. Witherspoon, who's been named the midseason D1 Player of the Year and Pitcher of the Year, comes out to start the game and effortless. Strikeout Curiel, strikeout Jones, fly out Dickinson, and you're going, okay, it's going to be that kind of night. Anderson goes out there, strikeout, then gets ahead 0-2 on the 2-hole hitter, Carmichael, and then gives up the 2-strike single. And then LSU shifted, and they beat the shift to the left side, and they went first to third. And you're thinking, this is what they do. And then Anderson gets into a little trouble and walks. Willits. There's a Willis and a Willits. Willits is who we're talking about here. And so the bases are loaded with 1 out, and Anderson goes strikeout Branch, strikeout Dickerson, and all of a sudden you're back in the dugout feeling great. Tigers didn't get anything going in the second. Anderson, 2 strikeouts and a ground out in the bottom, and Tigers finally break through in the third. And it was interesting because of how this inning started. It started with Stanfield's ground out where he called for the review. If you remember, he did the whole, Princess Leia hand on his ears thing, and ultimately is out. But then Curiel gets the double. He gets the 2-out double. And then Jones comes up, works a 3-2 count, and gets the RBI single. Todd Walker, I think, did a great job on the broadcast explaining the maturity of Jones as a hitter. As they were staying away from him, they were not going to come in. And instead of trying to dead pull to the left side, he went with it, dumped a single in right field, scored the run, and LSU's up 1-0. It was so important as well for LSU after getting that lead for Kade Anderson to hold it. That's where at the bottom of the third with a 1-0 lead, the first hitter Kade Anderson faces, he gets down 3-0, comes back, gets the ground out, strikeout. Then they go back-to-back singles and then a 2-out strikeout. Kade Anderson in this ballgame, in the first, the third, and the sixth, in those 3 innings, he allowed runners to second base, First, the bases were loaded, strikeout. Third inning, they went first and second, 2-out strikeout to end the inning. And then in the sixth was the leadoff double, and he comes back with a 3-pitch strikeout. And then the next hitter was the foul ball home run, where, I mean, on a still day, it's a tie ball game in the bottom of the sixth, and Kade Anderson's been brilliant. He's probably out of the game at that point or shortly thereafter. But it's a foul ball. He gets the strikeout, follows it with a strikeout. You're back in the dugout. Tigers would, they had the opportunity to extend the lead in the top of the seventh when Hernandez got caught in the rundown at third base, but it didn't matter because at that point, nobody else got on base. The two things that are worth mentioning offensively for LSU in this game is what happened in the fifth and the seventh. Of course, you got that run home in the third on Jones's 2-out RBI that scored Curiel. But in the fifth, you manufactured a run. In the seventh, you tried to manufacture a run, and you ran yourself out of an inning. And y'all know, if you follow, you know where I go on this sort of stuff. Hernandez leadoff double in the fifth. Reeves is up, and you bunt him to third. Well, Stanfield comes up and hits a double. The run scores. Then you go Curiel strikeout and then Jones to get out of the inning. The point I've always made about bunting as a sacrifice bunt to advance the runner. It feels like the right thing to do. You think it's the right thing to do. It looks like the right thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. Hernandez was at second. Stanfield came up and doubled. Todd Walker was saying on the broadcast over and over, you really want to sacrifice this guy to get to the 9-hole hitter? Like, is that what you, and then it bit you in the seventh inning. You got the run home, but how much bigger could that inning have been had Curiel been up with Stanfield on second and nobody out, as opposed to 1 out, and how the whole approach is? Maybe at that point you run a hit and run, or you're sacrifice bunting there. Who knows what could happen? Maybe you put more pressure and you get them out of the game. It's why when you give up an out, like there's 27 outs in the game, and when you give them one, your odds of producing a big inning decrease. Now, I understand the nature of the game, and it was 1-0, and Jay was trying to go up 2 runs, and I get all that, but you took away the opportunity to big inning. You did the same thing in the seventh when Hernandez again led off with a double. That's, by the way, after the double is when they went and hooked Witherspoon for hit. So after Hernandez's double to lead off the 7, they make the pitching change. Braswell comes in cold off the bunt, picks the ball up off his feet, off the bench, bunts the ball off his feet. You get Hernandez to third, and then obviously there was a miscommunication. Stanfield didn't get the sign. Hernandez broke for home. They get him a rundown. He's out. Then Stanfield strikes out, and all of a sudden you're out of the inning. So you could say it worked once, and it didn't work the next time. The point is you didn't even need it the first time because Stanfield doubled. I'm just never going to be okay with giving up an out to advance a runner. You want to give up an out to score a run? I'll trade an out for a run because that's the objective of the game. I will trade an out for a run. But especially against the pitcher you were facing, trading an out to advance a runner just doesn't make any sense. Again, it feels like the right thing. It looks like the right thing. You think it's the right thing. It's not the right thing. 2 instances tonight, it showed it was not the right thing to do. But no harm, no foul. Tigers win 2-0. And really the story of the game, of course, is was Kade Anderson. Absolutely incredible. And then the other thing we wanted to keep an eye on in this ball game was Ethan Fry. Fry's been fantastic. He's hitting over 400 on the season. He'd been 350 against SEC pitchers so far, but only 20 SEC ABs. That's something we've talked about. Fry a year ago was very good in the non-conference. He struggled. He hit sub 200 against SEC pitchers. Tonight, he was 1 for 4 in the ball game, and he didn't strike out. He made contact every time against Witherspoon, and that was kind of going to be my question was, this was the first time you faced real legitimate velocity and a big league breaking ball. I mean, that cutter that he was bending over there at 92 was incredible. It looked like an off-speed breaking ball, but it was coming in at 92. That's the pitch you got Curiel on to start the game, and then Jones in the second AB. It was incredible. But Fry was certainly up for the task. So that was my one big question was like, how does he handle legitimate velo and top tier SEC pitching? Fry was awesome tonight. I mean, when everybody was having issues with Witherspoon, he made contact every time and he got a knock in the game as well. So I thought that was super encouraging moving forward for Fry, continuing to be able to be called on in those spots against the top pitchers in the SEC, not just guys in the midweek. Okay, Tigers win 2-0. They move to 8-2 in league play, and now you go into game 2 tomorrow. It'll be Anthony Ianson on the mound, and you have Cowan and Evans ready to go, and then everybody else, whoever you may need. You hope that what you do is you can break through against OU. OU game 2 is going to start Cade Crossland. He's a lefty. He's 92-95. He's got a good breaking ball, a good changeup. So this is another good pitcher, but you've handled lefties really well. Last week, it was Pico Khan from Mississippi State, who statistically is the best pitcher of the SEC, and you fared well against him. You got him out of the game in the 5th after 5 innings. Of course, you faced the 2 lefties against Texas, and you beat Spencer. And then in game 2, you were winning game 2 5-2. So you've handled elite lefties well so far this year. You'll get another chance on Friday with Cade Crossland going for OU. Okay, y'all. I'm going to knock out our final break here. We'll come back, and then it's all you and your questions, so feel free to line them up. I am 906 people watching live. Tell a friend to jump aboard with us here. Let's get this thing over 1,000 live. We appreciate y'all for being here. It's Locked on LSU, your team every day. Daylight savings snuck up on us again. If you're feeling that lost hour of sleep, 5-Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost. A little boost to power through. Whether you're staying up late watching the NCAA tournament, squeezing in a round of golf at work, or just trying to keep up with your busy day, 5-Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. Maybe it's extra daylight savings activities, or you need on-the-go convenience. If you're at a game, if you're traveling, 5-Hour Energy is easy to grab, keeping me feel refreshed. Head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12 or 24 pack delivered right to your door. If you need one now, grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized with 5-Hour Energy.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
There's over 250 comments already right now. I don't know how we'll possibly get to all of them. Let me see if I can hit the high points and say some hellos. Connor O'Neill said best pitching performance since Skeens against Wake. Skeens Louder mentioned it already. One of the best outings, I think, best pitching duels we've ever seen, along with Aaron Nola, John Gray from 2013 in the regional with Super Regional, with LSU and Oklahoma. Absolutely incredible. And big tip of the cap to everybody watching. Give some shout outs here to Monty, to Bob, to Brett LaCava. We appreciate y'all. Cade, thanks for being there with us. Thomas, Will, fantastic, man. What a night for LSU to get out there. Carter said any chance Anderson comes out of the pen on Sunday. Yeah, tongue in cheek, no doubt. I appreciate it. Appreciate the comment, though. This is a big deal. And here's a good point that Micah makes. He said, what a game. Got the whole pitching staff for the rest of the series, and he'll have an extra day of rest. Don't let that go unnoticed, Micah. That's a really good point. Because next week when you go to Auburn and your back-to-back road conference series, but next week, Kade Anderson goes from Thursday to Friday. So you have an extra day of rest for next week. That's a great point, Micah. Thank you for making that. Appreciate you for dropping that in. Jonah, thanks for being there. Incredible day. Absolutely incredible day for these Tigers. Great performance by Kade Anderson. Danny, every day are here. Thank you so much. Keep up the great work. Thanks for being there. We appreciate everybody. Zach Taylor, Abner Neal. I'm trying to get some questions in. Michael said, thoughts on how the pitching matchup lines up for the rest of the weekend. Yeah, so in game 2, you'll have Anthony Ianson going, as I just mentioned, against Cade Crossland for Oklahoma. I'll give you Cade Crossland's stats for the season. I'll give you his stat line for the season, but he's again a lefty who he's a junior lefty, 6'1", mid 90s, again, 92 to 95. Good breaking ball, good changeup. On the season, Cade Crossland, his stat line, he has thrown 24 and a third innings. He has 29 strikeouts and 13 walks. He's got 4 wild pitches, and he's hit a couple of batters. His ERA is 6.66. So you're talking about a guy who has been touched up a little bit, but they've won behind him. So they've won all 3 of their SEC game 2s behind Cade Crossland. They beat South Carolina on the road. They beat Mississippi State at home, and they won at Alabama. By the way, the Mississippi State game, Crossland only went 3 innings in that game, and he gave up 8 runs. That was the score fest in that ball game. The final on that one ended up being 13-11. So Crossland only went 3 innings and gave up 8, but they still won that game. So this is a guy you can get to, but it's going to be a very different type of challenge than what you saw here with Witherspoon. The interesting thing is going to be for game 3, because Kyson Witherspoon, who pitched in game 1, his brother Malachi Witherspoon has been the number 3. Well, Skip Johnson, the Oklahoma coach, left game 3 TBA. He did not name Malachi Witherspoon the game 3 starter. So they may change things up a little bit. For what it's worth, Malachi Witherspoon throws hard. And one of the things about him, I was talking to a scout buddy of mine who said the thing about Malachi Witherspoon is he opens early in his delivery. And so hitters get a really good look at what's coming. Whereas Kyson Witherspoon, who threw tonight, does a fantastic job of hiding the baseball. So he's 97 to 99, but Malachi, so he throws hard, but Malachi Witherspoon, his problem is he walks too many. He's walked 16 on the season, and he's hit 7. So if you see Malachi Witherspoon in game 3 or out of the bullpen at some point, just something to keep in mind. Command has been an issue for the other Witherspoon. Sean, big fan. Lots of process versus results question. You covered the bunting stuff, so I won't go into it. I didn't love Anderson going 30 pitches over season high in a 2-run game. I mean, I couldn't disagree more with you, man. If Kade Anderson's velocity had dipped significantly and he was laboring, then I could understand your point. But if he's out there all game sitting 92, 95, or 90, sitting 94, 95, and then at pitch 135, he's still dotting 92. If he's at 88, okay, now it's egregious. But the things that go when you're fatigued are velocity and command. He got the final 12 hitters he faced out, and his velocity was still holding at 92. So I think we program our brains in this era to think, oh, that's too many pitches. It wasn't too many pitches. Clearly, he was fine. Thomas said Cam Johnson didn't pitch last weekend. Will we see him? Yeah, Thomas, probably not. So Cam Johnson, if you remember, was the fantastic talent lefty that was at LSU a year ago out of IMG, 98 from the left side. Spent a year at LSU, transferred to Oklahoma. Cam Johnson on this season has only thrown in 1 SEC game because the walks are still an incredible problem for Cam Johnson. So I'm pulling it up because I want to have it exactly, but he's got more walks than innings pitched right now. So Cam, which is the problem he's had. So 19 2/3 innings pitched for Cam Johnson on the season, 19 2/3 innings pitched, 21 strikeouts, 20 walks. He's walked 20 in 19 2/3 innings pitched, and he's also hit 6 batters. That's why he's thrown in 1 SEC game. That they're not going to run him out there in they're just not going to run him out there in they're not going to run him out there in an SEC game unless you're up 10 down 10. Sharon Menezes says, what's your precious boy's name? That's Drew. So that's my son Drew, who's 10 years old. William Drew Moscona for the Golden Spikes. Yeah, look, I've done shows in this office for a long time, and I used to try to close the door and keep Drew out. If you can't tell, he's a little special needs kiddo. But I used to try to close the door, keep him out. And I got to a point where I said, you know what, forget it. Just leave the door open. Who cares? Nobody cares. Everyone's so kind and about Drew all the time. People generally love to see him. So I just don't worry about it anymore. He busts through here, he busts in here. It's what it is, and we'll move on. Chuck E said, Matt, I didn't catch the game. Did OU leading base stealer get a steal? I do not believe OU had a stolen base in this ball game. Let me check to make sure, but I'm fairly certain they had the bases loaded in the first and no stolen bases. They went first to third, then a walk. Yeah, they did not have a stolen base in this game. Yeah, Oklahoma did not have a stolen base. They didn't even have a stolen base attempt in this game. But that goes back to something, if you were here as we were starting the show, that I mentioned, which was the key, and Jay Johnson explained this Thursday morning on Off the Bench with Hester and T-Bob. The key to limiting that offense is keeping the leadoff guy off base. Because when they get the leadoff man on base, that's when they put the wheels of their offense in motion. They only got the leadoff man on base. Let's see. Strikeout to bottom one, strikeout to lead off bottom two, ground out to lead off the bottom of the third, strikeout to lead off the bottom fourth, 1, 2, 3 inning in the fifth. Bottom six, they led off with the double, and that's it. The bottom six when they led off the double, and then he went strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. That was the only time the leadoff man got on base, was in the bottom of the sixth. So incredible. Just absolutely incredible by Kade Anderson. I mean, a performance we should talk about forever. He was amazing. Carlos, Matt from Puerto Rico. All right, go Tigers. Thank you for Locked On. Thank you for being there. Please do me a favor for those watching with us live, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. See if I can get maybe a couple of more in. Dustin said Drew makes the show better. Bottom line. Very kind of you. Thank you so much. Clint, Reeves or Braswell tomorrow? Yeah, my guess is it'll be Braswell. That's a good question, Clint. Because they are going to be throwing Cade Crossland, the lefty. So with a lefty starting, my guess is Braswell will be in there. Remember today, I should say here in game, but depending on when you're watching this, when they went to hit the lefty reliever, that's when Braswell went into the game to pinch hit. He bunted, but then went in at third. So that's my guess of how they'll do it. They'll continue to platoon at third, lefty, righty. But it sure seems like Ethan Fry has established himself. I think the bigger question is if Fry's going to establish himself as and certainly you're facing a lefty anyway, so Fry, the righty, will be in there. So I assume Braswell will be at third. My question is, does Pearson get a look in left? Does Pearson get a look in right in game two, or do you stay with Jake Brown? Y'all know how I feel about it. I think Jake Brown needs to be in your lineup every day. I know he was 0 for 3. He did have a walk in the ball game, but you only had 6 scattered hits in the entire game. 2 of them went to Hernandez, which was awesome to see, by the way. But let's see. Curiel had a hit. Curiel and Jones had the back-to-back hits, which put you on the board in the third. Fry had the single. Hernandez had the 2 doubles, and then Stanfield had the double, the RBI double. So, by the way, a lot of y'all owe Chris Stanfield an apology too. I understand what happened late in the game, but that's what you get for playing small ball. But RBI double on a day where you only had 6 hits, he had an RBI double that gave you your margin. So, in any event, couple more. Brad, if the SEC tourney started today, who you picking as your fourth starter, Newt or Schmidt? Yeah, Brad, I don't think even look at it that way. The better way to ask it, Brad, is if you're playing a regional and you had to get to championship Monday. Like, let's say you won your first 2 games, someone beat you on Sunday, and then you got to go play Monday. Who do you go to? Because the SEC tournament is different because, you're probably looking at a bye. And because you're setting up your pitching in the SEC tournament because you're setting up for regionals, you're not going to extend anybody in the SEC tournament on short rest or anything like that. So you'd really be thinking of if you got to a Monday, or in Omaha, if you played a 4th game, who would you run out there? That's a better. I know that's what you're asking, is who's the 4th pitcher, but realistically, you're not asking that question in Hoover at the SEC tournament. It's probably Newt. P-Dub said Newt or Cowan, and I'm telling you, man, it's not going to be Zach Cowan. For a couple of reasons that we've discussed. Number one, your bullpen is so thin right now of reliable options. You can't justify taking Cowan out of the bullpen. You have Cowan and Evans. Those are the 2 guys you count on. Now, hopefully, Newt comes into that role, and hopefully Connor Ware and William Schmidt continue to develop. But you can't justify right now, when you have two reliable arms in the bullpen that throw strikes, you can't justify taking an arm out of your bullpen. That's one. Number two is, think about Zach Cowan last week, right? In relief. He went 4 innings. It was great. But the second time through the lineup, they started to get to him. The same thing with Kason Evans, because he's a max effort guy. The thing with Cowan is he's a 2-pitch guy. He's got a fastball, which is not an impressive pitch. It's 92. And he's got a really impressive changeup. So he's got 2 pitches. Like, that's not enough to keep hitters guessing, to get you through a good lineup multiple times, which is why Cowan getting you through the lineup once, maybe some situational hitters to get you a little further like he did last week going 4, is probably about where he maxes out against good lineups like this. So, meaning in the SEC or in regional. So for all the Cowan starting talk, we've had this conversation enough. Like, he's not going to be a starter. I'm not saying there won't be a scenario where in postseason play, you give him the ball to, like, maybe get you 6 out, like what Will Helmers did, right? Hey, man, here's the ball. See what you can get us to start a game. But that's totally situational. For what you're asking, the hope is it could be either Connor Ware or William Schmidt. But right now, the guy you trust to go out there and throw strikes is Jaden Newt. So I'll be curious to see how Newt may pitch this weekend, because I'm sure he's going to have the opportunity to pitch this weekend. Okay. This is another one here. Matthew said, I know we're against them starting, but can you justify Cowan or Evans to start Saturday? Fines and get you 7 tomorrow, and either can get you home. That's kind of the point, right? Now, I don't know if Einson's getting you 7, but remember, most starting pitchers at the college level don't get you 7-8 innings or a complete game shutout. You just need him to get you through the lineup a few times and get it off to the next guy, but you got to have reliable bullpen arms. So, okay, let's see if there's any more. Maybe if I can sneak in 1 or 2 more. Man, boy, there's so many comments. I'm super grateful, y'all. 861 of you hanging on here. So thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much for hanging with us. Leon said, who's pitching for OU Saturday? Again, don't know who that's going to be yet. It had been Malachi Witherspoon, Kyson Witherspoon's brother, but they did not list him yet as a starter. They left Sunday or game 3 TBD. So we'll see how the first 2 games go, and then ultimately they'll make that decision from right there. Okay, y'all, let's get out of here. I appreciate you so much for being here with us every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now for your second listen, how about you check out Locked On College Basketball? March is here, so it's actually April now. If you want to be the most informed college basketball fan throughout the madness, find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, if you're on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, like all of you watching live with us, thank you so much. If you're watching on demand, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And remember, we are live after every LSU game. So Friday night, Saturday, whenever LSU plays. By the way, one other thing before I go. We got to keep an eye on the weather, okay? At this time, as I'm checking this, it's 9:09 Central Time. If you look up the weather right now in Norman, Oklahoma, it was rainy today. It cleared. It's going to be cold. Friday, rain's supposed to start in Norman at 5 a.m., and it's supposed to dissipate around 2. So they should get the game in on Friday evening. But Saturday, it looks like a 90% chance of rain, high of 52, low of 39, and Saturday could be a wash. So if the forecast continues to look bad for Saturday, do they maybe try to get in a doubleheader, an afternoon and night doubleheader on Friday? I don't know. I'm totally speculating there. But just keep an eye on that as you move through the weekend as well. Okay, y'all, let's get out of here. Y'all have an awesome day. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to let a friend know if they love the Tigers. We got you here every single day for Locked On LSU, your team every day.